On December 23, 2025, Ben Sasse, a 53-year-old former U.S. Senator, Ivy League professor, and university president, delivered a message to the world in a single, devastating sentence. He had just been diagnosed with stage 4 pancreatic cancer. He called it what it was, a death sentence. In an instant, a life of high achievement was confronted by biology's most brutal finality. This is not a political story. It is a raw, urgent exploration into the deadliest of all major cancers, one that kills more than 90% of those it touches, often with shocking speed. Why is it so lethal? Why does it strike so silently? And what does Sasse's heartbreakingly young diagnosis reveal about a crisis in our understanding of this disease? Welcome to Health Inside, Anatomy and Science. I'm Dr. Your name or channel host, and today we are undertaking a sobering investigation. We will map the silent, sinister biology of pancreatic cancer, explain why a stage 4 diagnosis is so dire, and confront the desperate search for breakthroughs that could turn a death sentence into a life saved. Part 1. The Silent Assassin, the Anatomy of a Stealth Killer. To understand its lethality, you must understand the pancreas. It's a small, hidden organ nestled deep behind your stomach. It has two vital jobs, producing digestive enzymes, also known as exocrine function, and producing hormones like insulin, also known as endocrine function. Pancreatic cancer almost always arises from the exocrine cells that line the tiny ducts within the organ. Its deadliness is a product of both location and biology. The anatomical fortress. Its deep-seated position means early tumors cause no early symptoms. There is no lump to feel, no visible sign. The biological highway. The pancreas is enveloped in a rich network of blood vessels and lymph nodes. This allows aggressive cancer cells to escape into the circulatory system with terrifying efficiency, often before the primary tumor is even detectable. The desmoplastic reaction. The tumor doesn't just grow, it creates a dense, fibrous shield of scar tissue around itself. This stroma acts as a physical and biochemical barrier, starving the tumor of chemotherapy drugs and protecting it from the immune system's attacks. This is the perfect storm, a silent tumor in an inoperable location with a built-in biological defense system and a direct route to spread. Part 2. Decoding Stage 4. The metastasized verdict. Ben Sasse's diagnosis includes the word metastasized. This is the turning point from a localized disease to a systemic, incurable one. Stage 4 means the cancer has traveled through the bloodstream or lymphatic system to establish colonies, metastases, in distant organs. For pancreatic cancer, the most common sites are the liver, lungs, and the lining of the abdominal cavity, the peritoneum. Once metastasis occurs, surgery, the only potential cure, is off the table. You cannot cut out cancer that has seeded itself throughout the body. Treatment shifts from curative to palliative, slowing the growth, managing symptoms, and extending life with the highest quality possible. The statistics are harrowing. The overall 5-year survival rate for pancreatic cancer is just 13%. For distant stage 4 disease, that number plummets to roughly 3%. The median survival after a stage 4 diagnosis is often measured in months, not years. When Sasse used the term death sentence, he was referencing this cold, statistical reality. Part 3. The mystery of the young. Why at 53? Pancreatic cancer is typically a disease of older adults, with the average age of diagnosis around 70. Sasse's diagnosis at 53 is tragically young and points to a disturbing trend, a steady rise in incidence among adults under 55, particularly since the early 2000s. Researchers are urgently investigating why. The obesity and diabetes link. The parallel rise of these metabolic conditions is a prime suspect. Chronic inflammation and elevated insulin levels may create a microenvironment that fuels cancer initiation in the pancreas. Genetic predisposition. In younger patients, inherited genetic mutations like in the BRCA2, PALB2, or Lynch syndrome genes play a more prominent role. A detailed family history of breast, ovarian, or colorectal cancer can be a red flag. Environmental and lifestyle factors. Smoking remains a major risk factor. New research is also examining the role of dietary patterns, alcohol use, and even shifts in our gut microbiome. SASSE'S case forces the medical community to ask, are we facing a new, more aggressive subtype emerging in younger populations? The answer is still unknown, making his diagnosis a bellwether for a worrying public health shift. Part 4. The Front Lines: Treatment, Trials, and the Flicker of Hope. The standard of care for metastatic pancreatic cancer is a combination of potent chemotherapy regimens, most commonly FOLFIRINOX or gemcitabine with nab-paclitaxel. These are not gentle treatments. They are brutal assaults intended to shrink tumors and slow progression, bought at the cost of significant side effects, crushing fatigue, nerve damage, and vulnerability to infection. But the real hope lies in precision medicine. Every patient's tumor is now genetically profiled. The goal is to find an Achilles heel. Targeted therapies. For the small percentage with specific mutations like KRAS G12, NTRK fusions, or MSI high, there are now pills that can specifically inhibit these faulty drivers, often with fewer side effects and better outcomes than chemo. Immunotherapy. While pancreatic cancer is famously immunologically cold, drugs called checkpoint inhibitors can be revolutionary for those rare tumors with specific genetic signatures, dMMR or MSI high. Clinical trials. This is where the future is being written. Trials for new targeted drugs, innovative immunotherapies, and novel delivery systems like using mRNA technology to teach the immune system to attack the cancer represent the best chance for a paradigm shift. Treatment for SASSE will be a race against time, using the most effective chemotherapy to gain control while his tumor's genetics are analyzed to see if he qualifies for a targeted therapy or a groundbreaking clinical trial. Part 5. The Human Dimension: Confronting Mortality at 53. Beyond the biology lies an unimaginable human reality. A 53-year-old with a brilliant career, a young family, and decades of life assumed ahead is now forced to contemplate its end in a matter of months. This abrupt collision with mortality reframes everything. His stated focus on family and faith is not a cliché. It is the essential psychological pivot from curative hope to meaningful living. Palliative care teams become crucial, managing not just physical pain, but the existential pain, anxiety, and spiritual distress that accompanies a terminal diagnosis. The goal becomes quality of life, maximizing time, managing symptoms, and creating legacies of love and memory. Ben Sasse's diagnosis is a stark, personal illumination of one of medicine's greatest failures. It highlights a cancer that hides, that spreads with ruthless efficiency, and that has resisted decades of research with a stubbornness unlike any other. His youth makes it all the more tragic and urgent. His public candor turns his personal tragedy into a powerful call for awareness, for research funding, and for compassion. In the face of this death sentence, science continues its desperate, determined search for a reprieve. If this sobering look at the biology of pancreatic cancer gave you a deeper understanding of its challenge, please give this video a thumbs up. It helps us tackle the hardest topics with the respect they deserve. Share it to foster awareness and support for critical cancer research. Subscribe to Health Inside, Anatomy and Science, and hit the bell. We believe that understanding disease, no matter how daunting, is the first step toward defeating it. Stay aware, support research, and hold your loved ones close.